Good morning and welcome to Frontiers of Knowledge segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Course. Our old languages, ancient languages, are a storehouse of knowledge, of ancient traditions, of folklore, and are essentially encyclopedic as far as living at that time was concerned and hold a lot of lessons for us. People in India think that if Sanskrit had not been there, or if people had not known Sanskrit and it had been allowed to die, India would have been deprived of the great Vedas and Upanishads. If Latin had been allowed to die before it was translated into European languages, the great works of the Greeks and the Romans would have been lost. Unfortunately, there are still many languages of the old era which have not been deciphered. And I'm not talking about the languages of the tribes. There are about 200 languages in India which are slowly and steadily vanishing as those people who spoke those languages slowly urbanizing, leaving their heritage. And this loss of the languages is a great loss to humanity. The trails of that era, of that group of people, of that age, are lost. So, are you aware that the 5 ancient languages, despite all the progress that we have made, are yet not been deciphered, and they are great knowledges? Unfortunately, we were not even aware of those languages, but even when we became aware, our knowledge was restricted and constrained because they are not deciphered. The first language that comes to my mind is Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta word is being used nowadays by an app, but this language was not known. It was on July 19, 1799 that this language was discovered. The scientists and the archaeologists found a stone which had some ancient text written in 2 languages. And imagine, these languages were Egyptian and Greek. Now, automatically this implies that this language was used right from Africa, Egypt to Europe. So it must have been spoken by a large number of people, and these were the centers of civilization at that time. And when the scholars deciphered the ancient Egyptian language writings, they came to know that they couldn't find the meaning. Ultimately, they could decipher that language, but then it was seen that there were still more languages which are yet to be deciphered. And then, first language that came to the attention of the scholars, and they are looking into the mysterious scripts. They want to decipher what's written there. 300 BC, there was a kingdom of Kush. It was in the city of Miro in Sudan, and its language is called Meteoritic. So the first language which has yet to be deciphered is Meteoritic. A French archaeological mission was there in Sudan, and they found this language. And they found that this language, Meteoritic, is written in 2 scripts. It's written in cursive style like most of the languages are, and it's also written in hieroglyphics the way Egyptian language used to be written in the old days. and the Chinese and the Japanese and the Korean are written nowadays. So, both these scripts are derived from the Egyptian scripts. The scripts were deciphered in 1911, 3 years before the First Great War. And it was deciphered by Griffith. But the language, knowledge, so they could find some meaning. But the language, knowledge still remains incomplete. And without understanding the language, the scholars who have found a lot of writings in Meteoritic script cannot understand what is actually there, and they cannot translate it. Nevertheless, the linguistic affiliation of Meteoritic has been recently established. Without understanding it, they just have been able to establish a connection. This language belongs to northern eastern Sudanic branch of Nilo-Saharan group of languages, and they are related to each other. It's just like Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu, related to each other, or better still, when we talk of the languages of UP like Avdi being related to Hindi. So further understanding of the Meteoritic tongues are expected from comparative linguistic research, but according to the scholars, there are about 10,000 manuscripts, and the average number of pages per script, per manuscript is about 800. So 10,000 scripts of 800 pages each is full of knowledge. Then comes Indus Valley language. Indus Valley language flourished in what is now called Pakistan, basically, India, Afghanistan, Iran. 4,000 years back, this civilization was there, Indus Valley civilization. And it declined during the change, which always happens, and now the scientists say that decline was because of the climate change situation. People who lived in Mesopotamia had an active trading relationship and referred to them as Miliolums. And that Miliolum is in some Mesopotamian text. The writing in that civilization, used by the people of the Indus Valley civilization, is undeciphered. And let me tell you, Sanskrit was not a language of the Indus Valley language, because that came on the other side of the country. But the Indus Valley, as a matter of fact, first was the Indus Valley language, then came Sanskrit. But this Sanskrit language, pre-Vedic language, essentially based in Mesopotamia and then extending from Iran to India, covering Afghanistan and Pakistan. The writing system used by this civilization is undeciphered and makes use of the series of signs. This is a different sign. Again, exactly like the Chinese and the Korean and the Japanese do, signs are the language. The scholars hope that one day a text will be found that is written in both the Indus Valley language and the Mesopotamic language that is already known. Say, if some relationship can be established with Sanskrit, it will be a great thing. And if such a text exists, it may be found in Iraq or on the coast of Arabia, where trading between Mesopotamia and Indus Valley civilization occurred. But till that happens, this area, rich civilization, absolutely full of liberal art, the key to unlock those secrets is still not there. Then there is a language curiously called, because they couldn't give it a name, is Linear Alpha. Linear Alpha is an undeciphered writing system, and it was used by the ancient Minoans The Mennonians flourished on Crete in Italy about 2500 years before Christ. The existence of the script was first noted by archaeologist Arthur Evans, who excavated the Mennonian city of Knossos a century back. There was a volcano, Thera. It erupted 3,500 years back and destroyed the Mennonian civilization. A new group of scholars called Mycenaeans rose to power in Crete and used their own system of writing, which has been now deciphered, and the scholars call it Linear B. But Linear A has still not been deciphered, and according to the manuscripts which have been recovered, which have yet to be deciphered, there are about 620 to 650 different manuscripts. Each ranges from page number 70 to 300. So this huge number of 600 odd manuscripts cannot be read. And that, according to some rough idea, gives information about the civilization, about the trading practices, about the social and the cultural practices. Quite possible. It might be a storehouse for the future generation and our generation if it can be deciphered, because it's precursor to the Greek civilization, Roman civilization. And if Roman and Greek civilization was that great, you can't deny the greatness of Linear A, as the greatness of Sanskrit shows that its predecessor must also have been full of profound knowledge. The next language which is yet to be deciphered is Proto-Elamite. Now, Proto-Elamite was used in area now called Iran, before we used to call it Persia, about 5,000 years back, much before the Indus Valley civilization. And it is one of the earliest writing systems used by the human beings. Now, are you shocked? I am excited, not shocked. And this earliest writing system by the human beings is yet undeciphered. Many of the surviving texts of Proto-Elamite are available in Louvre Museum in France, and there was an agreement signed in 2013 between Louvre Museum and Cuneiform Digital Library Initiative. So what they have done is they have digitalized the museum's Proto-Elamite text. And now the scholars feel that this process of digitalization will make it easier for scholars to gain access to the surviving text. But if we can find out what 5,000 years back the human ancestors thought, wrote, and expressed the human feelings, human hopes, endeavors, it would be exciting. I even know I'm enthused when I read Vedas and Puranas in Sanskrit, or when I read in Latin and Greek, Aeschylus, Euripides, Sophocles, and my imagination soars. So if I can read still something of the holy path, and then the connectivity that you feel makes you feel great. Coming back to the subject, another language that is yet to be deciphered is Cypro-Mignon. As I told you, the fifth language. This is a system of writing which was widely used in Cyprus, and it was used 16th centuries before Christ. There are about 200 Cypro-Mignon texts still surviving. As they are very short. Now that's the difference between the other ones which are thousands of pages, like Indus Valley language. But this one, Cypro-Mignon, has just about 200 manuscripts and which are very short, and this has been identified language by a classical studies professor, Nicholas Herschel. He's in Trinity University, and he wrote an article, the Oxford Handbook of Bronze Age Aging. Now, there's very small number of surviving Cyprominion texts. They're short length, as I said, 1 page, half a page. Maybe they are poems, short poems. But decipherment, they say, is not possible unless substantial archives are uncovered or a bilingual text is discovered. So then they can compare and contrast and find out some. So these languages, a storehouse of knowledge, of information about that era, the hopes and the endeavors of the human beings of that age, they are still missing. And when, as and when, that era can be deciphered, then the connectivity of this age with that age, and the connectivity of the human emotions, feelings, passions, aspirations would be established. Hope that these languages would also be deciphered. And the languages which are on the verge of extinction will not be allowed to die. Therein lies the kindred spirit of humanity. And these languages are the foundation of that spirit. Thank you.